Got him. Thought I missed it. Oh my gosh. Megan, get the net. Oh my gosh. Absolute Lake Mead pig, dude. What's going on, guys? Noah Sanford here. Really brief video today on my top 3 baits for early summer bass fishing. We're gonna go ahead and jump right into this. I am specifically located in Southern Nevada when it comes to the fisheries. I fish Lake Mead, Lake Mojave, the river in between, sometimes Lake Havasu. I fish mostly clear water desert fisheries. However, all of these 3 baits are going to apply to fisheries nationwide, even worldwide really, whether you're fishing on a giant clear water reservoir or you're fishing on a half-acre golf course muddy water pond, okay? These 3 baits are going to work pretty much universally this time of year in early June. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. My number 1 bait for all of June bass fishing is going to be a topwater, specifically, for the most part, a popper. For some reason, early June, I always get the best success on my topwater when I'm using a topwater popper. This one is obviously in like a shad, a bright electric shad color. I always like to focus on those shad color poppers, and I like to use the smaller ones too. So you'll notice this is only about a 2 or 2.5 inch popper. It's not a big giant 3 or 4 inch one, right? The reason I like to use these small ones is because here on my fishery right now, the shad and the bait fish are still small. When I see bass spit up shad when I'm fighting them, or when they spit one up on the deck, they're only about an inch or 2 big. And whenever these bass that I see feeding on the shad, those shad are always up on the surface. They're always jumping and skipping out of the water. And the popper does a really good job of imitating those shad being chased up on the surface. So typically I'm gonna be throwing this early morning. So we're gonna kind of go off the understanding that, let's say we're going out for 4 or 5 hours in the morning, we're getting there at gray light, fish until 9 or 10. The popper is almost 100% what I'm going to be throwing for at least the first half hour to hour of the day. And then after that, when the sun gets up, they usually slow down on the topwater, but I'll always leave it tied on my deck in case I see some fish starting to blow up on the surface again, or if I just run into a little shade pocket or an area that looks topwatery. So number 1 bait, and probably the most fun bite you're gonna get right now, topwater bait. Now, don't think that you should only go out and throw a popper. You'll still get bit on a walking bait, a buzz bait, whopper plopper, whatever you want. For some reason though, for my fishery and my specific style of fishing, I typically do the best on poppers right now. But really any topwater bait is probably gonna get a bite in early June. There's kind of a transitionary period on our lakes here where you go from that early morning topwater bite and then you get down into that mid-morning, more finesse, slower, deeper water bite. But in between that transition from about maybe 6 or 6:30 until 7:30 or 8, those fish are still kind of in the middle of the water column here where we fish. And so what I like to do is tie on some sort of reaction bait for the next hour or 2. And so I really like jerk baits. You could also throw a soft jerk bait like a fluke. You could throw a crank bait. For this demonstration though, I picked a jerk bait, but really any sort of fast moving reaction bait that is not actually gonna be on the surface, but it's gonna be subsurface 5-10 feet. So that's why I grabbed a jerk bait. It's a very universal bait, but if you got a square bill, lipless crankbait, soft jerkbait, whatever you want, throw some sort of reaction bait as long as the contingency is that they are still chasing bait that time of morning. So my next choice is always going to be some sort of reaction bait after that morning topwater bite is over, but they haven't quite moved out in that deeper water yet either. So hopefully that'll give you an idea on what to do after that morning topwater bite when you're still kind of in that transition of, do I throw topwater? Do I drop down to deeper water? And then once that kind of mid-morning reaction bite is over and that sun is up all the way and those fish are starting to get hot, that's when I'm gonna start dropping down to 20, 25, 30, even 35 or 40 feet, depending on how hot my water is and where I'm at in the lake. And that's where I'm gonna start throwing my finesse bait. So this time of year, I'm throwing nothing but a Ned rig or a drop shot down in that deeper water. You can pretty much throw anything down there in that deeper water depending on your fishery, but for where we are, what I like to do is throw a Ned rig. And that's really what I'm throwing most of the time when I'm fishing that finesse stuff down in that 20, 30 foot range. And that's because universally, like I said, whether you're on a giant lake or if you're on a golf course pond, universally that Ned rig always just gets bit. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because it kind of sort of looks like a crawdad or something down there on the bottom, but the fish don't really know what it is. It just looks like a little stick bait down there. They just come up to it and eat it. So really after about 7:30, 8 o'clock most days in June, I'm gonna drop down into that deeper water range and start throwing those finesse baits, your drop shots and your Ned rigs, stuff like this, down deeper, throw it out there, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and then just do a combination of pausing it, popping it occasionally, letting it sink again, pause it, and then sometimes I'll just drag it with my rod tip. And that's really it, guys. That's what I'm gonna be throwing in the month of June for 99.9% of the time. Sure, if you wanna mix it up and just play around with different baits, you can always do that. No one's gonna stop you. I like experimenting with different baits too. But for 99% of the time, if I wanna go out there and just have the most success with numbers and quality, I'm gonna start off with that topwater bait, and then once that topwater bite is kind of starting to slow down, move to that mid-water column, still with those reaction baits. And once they stop hitting that, I'm gonna drop down in that deeper water, that cooler water, and start fishing my finesse baits. So hopefully that gives you guys a good overview of what to look for in the month of June when you're going out there and you're trying to catch these bass. June can be a tough month, especially because that water all of a sudden goes from cool and comfortable to where it starts getting hot for most of you guys around the country. So don't get discouraged if you go out and have a bad day or two. Make sure to get out there, give these tips and these lures a shot. If this was helpful, make sure you leave a comment and like down below. My name is Noah Sanford. We'll see you guys out on the water.